What would happen to your finances if the person who manages them today was unavailable tomorrow morning? Unfortunately, that is a reality for a lot of women. And I don't mean to just tag women here because a lot of times it's the men who have the same issue. From my experience, it's typically the women. If you're a woman of a certain age, let's say 50 plus, 60 plus, 70 plus, and you really don't have a handle on your financial life, this is a wake up call for you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, you need to learn how to invest your money. You need to create a budget. No, none of that. What I want to do is give you confidence. I want to empower you. I want to let you know what you can do today so you know about your finances. Let's get started. Welcome to my series of 5 things that a woman 50 plus needs to get a handle on pronto. The first one is the one I'm talking about today, which is finances. It's not as bad as it sounds, okay? Why do I think this is important? Many times women have allowed their spouse or their partner, I'm just going to use those as examples because that's the majority of the time, but they've allowed that person to handle the finances. It may have been out of necessity because you kind of had to divide and conquer. You handled a certain part of the household, the spouse or partner handled another part of the household, which included finances. Okay. But now it's later in your life. Maybe you don't have kids at home. Maybe your career is winding down or you're retired, and that person is still handling the financial aspect and you trust them completely. So you think everything's great. The bills are getting paid, investments are chugging along. So why should you get involved? Again, what happens if you wake up tomorrow morning and the person who handles all of this is no longer available? I'm not saying they pass away in the middle of the night, although I know, unfortunately, that is a reality for many people. But let's say they become unavailable, they have a severe illness, a serious illness, and they have to go into the hospital for months. They cannot physically handle the financial aspect of your life. Many people will say, I'm going to have my adult kids come in and help me. That's what I'm relying on. Or you have a sister or a brother and you think they will step in and help you. I often tell people that's a lot of you to ask of someone else to help manage your life because you've been avoiding it. Think about when you were your adults' kids' ages. What was your life like? You were probably headfirst into a career or you were raising kids. You had lifing, and it was all you could do to pay your bills. Yet you are now asking those adult kids to stop their life to help you out because you haven't taken the time to learn about your financial life. So I'm here to help you with that. I'll also add something you may not have thought about. 2 things. You know your kids better than anyone. Sometimes their strengths are not in the financial world. A lot of people, that is not their strengths. They have strengths in other things, but it's not in the financial world. Yet you're asking them to take on your financial world. So you want to think about that. The other thing I often hear about are the women who maybe, I don't know how to say this gently, but maybe you don't care for your child, adult child's spouse or partner. What could happen is that spouse or partner could be handling your finances behind the scenes because your adult kid doesn't have the time to do that. So you need to think about that a little bit. I have been a real estate broker for over 20 years. I want to give you a little background. I've had a lot of very hard conversations with women at a kitchen table. Lots of tears have been shed because not only are they dealing with the grief of maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's a death, maybe it's because someone has become incapacitated and they don't know what to do. They're looking at me, a total stranger for the most part, to help them. I can only do so much. The same can be said for your family members or friends that you expect to step in. They're not living your life every day. It would take them probably 3 times, 4 times as much time to figure one thing out as it will you. I also have been living in a 55 plus neighborhood. Oh gosh, closer to 8 years now. I've talked to a lot of women who are in the same boat. They have allowed their husbands, their spouses, their partners to kind of control the finances. Let's be serious here. Sometimes the spouses, partners, let's just call them partners. The partners are doing it out of love because they want to help you. They don't want to burden you with this. I truly believe that. However, on the flip side of the coin, many times The partners like that control. They could be great people, but they like that control of the money. They like knowing where the money is going and they don't have to answer to anyone. They may be doing a great job with it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you should dive in and see, oh, where is the money going? They might be a little territorial about it. Maybe you've tried to approach them in the past saying, what about this? And they get very frustrated and they leave because you know what? They either don't want to share that information because it's a control thing, or maybe they don't know the answer and they're afraid to tell you that. I'm going to help you with that. So, what are the things that you really need to know today? You may already know some of these. Feel great about that if you do. What are your bank accounts? What bank accounts do you have? Do you have access to those bank accounts? Do you know how to find those bank accounts online? We live in a digital world. So, going down to the bank and talking to them may not work for you. Some places they do, but you need to be able to access those bank accounts. Do you know how to transfer money back and forth if you have more than one account? That may become a big thing. For instance, you could have to pay property taxes, and maybe you've never done that before. Sometimes people transfer money from one, maybe a savings account or something else, into their checking account, and then they pay the property taxes. Depending on where you live, that can be a big dollar amount. Do you know how to do that? Do you know what your monthly bills are? How do you pay them? Are they paid online? Are they set up to automatically pay? Are they still paper bills? You need to know all of that, along with what's the normal amount for that bill. So let's say this is a real estate person and me coming out that your water bill is typically $100 a month. The day you take over the finances, you get a water bill for $400. You just pay it, or you have someone pay it for you because you didn't know that the average bill was about $100, so you don't think twice about it. You just think, wow, I didn't know we paid that much for water. Instead of saying, there's a problem here, which probably means there's a leak somewhere in your house, inside or out, and you need to figure out what you're going to do about that. That will be in my fourth video of this series because that will be all about your home and your car maintenance. Right away, knowing what your bill amounts should be will give you a heads up that there's an issue. The last thing you want to do is walk out into your backyard or something like that and you walk straight into a puddle of water. You're dealing with a lot probably at that moment. That's the last thing you need in your life is to say, oh my gosh, what is happening? Then you figure out, your water bill is much higher than it should have been. You've got this issue. You're just dealing with a lot on top of having your partner or spouse unavailable to you. If you have investment accounts, do you know how to access those? Do you have a financial planner, a financial manager who manages all of this for you? Do you know how to contact him or her? Do you ignore those emails maybe they send you every month? It's time not to do that. Just look them over, if nothing else. If you have meetings with a financial planner, someone you trust, maybe you go to those meetings, but you're on your phone and you kind of zone out. Try to listen. Try to listen because usually these folks are giving you great information about what's happening in the market, how that is affecting your investments, and what they anticipate in the future. It's just education. Again, you're not making those investments. They're doing it for you. If you don't have a financial manager, maybe your spouse does that and handles the investments. You'll need to have that conversation with your spouse or your partner. This may seem like I'm being really petty here, but trust me, again, with my real estate background, many people are shocked by this. Who owns your house? If you aren't renting, if you are living in a home that you own, who owns it? Man, I can't tell you how many times I've been the bearer of bad news because I have told a woman sitting across from me that she is not on the title to the house, just her husband. She'll say, what? I don't own the house? No, technically you don't. That can cause all sorts of issues down the road. So you want to make sure that you are on the house. And there probably was a good reason at the time. Maybe you've owned that house for a long time and maybe you were a stay-at-home mom, didn't have income coming in per se. When you were qualifying for a loan for that house, they just used your husband's income for the loan. So the husband is just on the mortgage. When you closed on that house, they just kept the husband there. The plan was all along to add you to the title at some point, but life started lifing. You don't own the house. Make sure you know that you are on the house. You're on the title. As you can tell, that's not a huge long list, but it's important. It's important. If you can get this information, you're going to be so far ahead. Now, what other things do you need to know? There are some documents, and you need to know their location. Where are your insurance policies? Not only just life insurance, but you have a policy for your home, for your cars. You may have other policies. You may have a umbrella policy. It could be a variety of things. Where are those? Are those in the cloud? Do you know what the cloud is? Are they online? Do you still have a file drawer somewhere? Some people still try to do everything with paper. Know where those are because odds are good you're going to need to access them. Same thing with your health care. Do you know where that is? Do you know where all the information is about whatever ever plan you may be on, whether it is a regular health insurance plan, whether it's the marketplace, whether it's Medicare? Do you know how to access that information? This is something that most people don't think about. Do you have a safe in your house with important documents located within the safe? Do you know what the code is to the safe? No? Do you know where your partner keeps that code? Because odds are good it's probably written down somewhere, or maybe it's just in their head, or maybe you're thinking, oh, it's going to be the code we use for everything, and it's not. Make sure you know how to get into that safe. I got to tell you, we have a safe. I can't stand it. I keep saying we've got to buy another safe because it's one of those that has, like seems like 10 jillion numbers, and you go left and you go right and you go. Every time I get into that safe, I have to Google how to get into that safe. I mean, I know the code, but I'm like, okay, da da da. So I want to change safes where it's just easier to get in, maybe fingerprint, maybe something like that. Keep that in mind. Now, some people still have safe deposit boxes. Those are kind of becoming a thing of the past around the country, but they're still out there. They're still out there. Again, you wouldn't believe how many women I've talked to who know they have a safe deposit box, but they don't know where because they'll say, "Oh, we opened that up like 20 years ago. I don't know where. Maybe it was the bank we were at that time. We lived in a different neighborhood. Maybe we never moved the stuff from there and we never access it. So I don't know where it is. How do I find that out?" Well, good luck, right? I mean, I know women who go from bank to bank driving around trying to figure this stuff out. They have no idea how to access it or where it is. Make sure you know that. Ask those questions. The last two things I'll mention that you really need to know about are whether you have a will. Many people don't. Highly recommend you get a will, especially if you're at this age range, 50 plus. You need a will. There are many ways you can do that through an attorney. I know there's some online programs out there. I don't know enough about those online programs to say you should use one or another. Make sure you have some type of will. It's a gift you're giving to the people you leave behind. It's a gift your partner is giving you and you are giving your partner. It's time to have those tough conversations that will help you sleep at night. For instance, do you know what your partner's wishes are if they were to pass away? Do they want to be buried? Do they want a memorial service? Do they want to be cremated? I can tell you from personal experience, when you have to make that decision and you don't know if that is what that person wanted, you're already grieving, but you have to make that decision. It's tough. It's just another thing that eats at you, and you're thinking, am I doing the right thing? Make sure you have that conversation with people. I know people who have a partner who has a very serious illness, or maybe it's a terminal illness. They have yet to have those conversations because they don't want to bring it up. Trust me, that person has probably thought about it. It will be a relief to both of you if you have that conversation with them. Same thing many times. You need to have a living will. You need to have those discussions about, do you want to be kept alive if this happens or that happens? Because it all will fall on you or your partner. Again, it's a gift to give them to let them know what your wishes really are. Do you have a trust? Do you understand why a trust could be important to you depending on what your situation is? A trust can help out the people you leave behind a great deal. Have you made sure that everything that needs to be transferred into the trust is transferred into the trust? What do I mean by that? Again, I'm going to give you a real estate example. Many times I have helped people sell their homes and their spouse has passed away. The proceeds from the house were anticipated just to be transferred into a bank account. Well, here And in the other state I used to live in Colorado. I'm here in Arizona. It's different for every state, so I don't want to speak legally, any way, shape, or form. I'm not an attorney. But the money from the house, and the house is usually in the trust, proceeds from that house need to go into an account that is owned by the same people that own the house, which is the trust. It may not make sense to you because you could say, well, we are the trust. Why can't they just put that in my bank account with my name on it or my husband's name on it? It doesn't work that way. It needs to be in the trust name. Again, it will be another pain in the you know what for you to have to handle. Make sure now everything that should be in the trust is in the trust. It's very easy to skip these things. I mean, I'm not saying someone did that intentionally, because I know when we created our trust, we had a whole list of things that we needed to make sure we put in the trust. Our cars, our house, our whatever accounts. It was a process to get it done. Many times, again, life starts lifing and one just kind of falls through the cracks. Make sure you understand what kind of trust you have and what's in that trust to make things easier for you down the road. If your adult kids are trying to help you, which they probably will, if they come in and try to help you, all of this is going to help them so much that you're so organized you can answer these questions or you know where things are. If you think about it for a second, okay, a lot of times family members come in to help someone in a time of need, but eventually they have to go back to their life. Maybe if you haven't taken control of this, if you don't have the confidence in it, you will call them a month later saying, oh, I got this in the mail. I don't know what to do with it. What do you think? They may be sitting in a house 5 states over, or they may be local, but life starts lifing for them and they don't get to your question. You're sitting here thinking, I need an answer. I need an answer. You start feeling a little bit of resentment. That's the worst. That's the worst. But if you know and you have educated yourself on this information, you're going to know where to go to get that answer. It's going to be empowering for you. It's going to make you feel good. What's the first step you should take? Sitting down with that person that's been managing your money. It'd be a really easy conversation. They could say, sure, let's talk about it. I want you to feel comfortable with this. I think this is a really smart idea. And have that list of things I just talked about. Have that list of what are your monthly bills? Where are our important documents located? How do I access a safe or safe deposit box? Who is on the title to our house? All of that kind of information. Have that conversation with that person. Okay, that would be wonderful if everyone was like that, right? But how about those difficult conversations where maybe the person feels threatened that you're asking them that information? Or maybe they don't want to give up that information because it's a control thing for them. Or maybe they don't have the answers. These have to be handled delicately because usually, again, it's your partner that you're living with. I would just make sure you know this person better than anyone, that you tell them ahead of time you want to have a conversation about the financial piece of their lives. It's not to dissect where they stand because you don't want to pass judgment, especially if they're the ones making the investments, that kind of thing. Just say it's for your peace of mind. You just need to know where everything is in case something happens. You could say, Linda down the street is dealing with this. Or you heard about someone at work who had to deal with this and didn't have any of the information and how difficult it was for her. You just kind of want to be prepared so you can be confident in it. You're not going to micromanage it, but you just need to know the information. You might want to say, let's talk about that. It might take you a couple of times of telling this person, let's set up a time to talk about it. Let's talk about it on Saturday morning. You want to find a time where they're not doing 10 other things and a time that, they're not tired, that they can access this information quite easily, and you are prepared. You don't just say, tell me everything that I need to know. You're going to come in there prepared. You're going to have the list of things that you want to know about. That will make that person feel pretty good that this is the stuff you're asking for. You're not just asking for everything. If they don't have an answer, don't judge them. Don't say, you don't know who's on the house. You'll want to say, let's figure that out. Be involved in that. That's as easy as getting on your county website, by the way. You can look at the deed on the county website and see whose name the house is in. Just kind of a side note. So that's the first important step for you to take. Set up a time to talk to the person who's managing this money for you. Make sure you have all the information you need. Make sure you bring the list of everything you want to know. This will make you feel so much more confident. You will feel empowered. You won't worry about this. Some of you are saying, I'm not worried about it right now, but you probably are because you just think my kids will step in or my friends will step in or my family members. I won't have to deal with it still. That could make things a lot worse, as I talked about. By knowing what you know after you have these conversations, after you have things written down, you're going to feel so good. You're going to be empowered. You're going to be confident, which is my whole goal. If you found this helpful, stay tuned for the next video in this series, which is all about passwords and digital access. That's huge in today's world. How do you keep track of your passwords? Do you know your passwords? Do you know what documents are digital? Which ones are easily accessible? How can you put them in the cloud? What is the cloud? All of that, I'm going to talk about that in hopefully a very easy way for you. I'm not going to be speaking in code by any means. It's just to help you become confident in that area. And you know what? The person who handles that right now might learn something from you as well. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like, please comment below, share this with someone because I almost guarantee you know someone who needs to know this information. I'm almost guaranteeing it because if you have friends or family in the same age range, so many of them fall into this category where they know nothing about their financial life. So please share it with them. I'd love for you to follow along on this series and become the empowered person that I know you can be. Remember, it's never too late to create the life that you really love.